Good evening. This is a video explaining what my code actually does. So here is where we import a scanner. This is our main class where everything falls under, and this is the code attribution illustrating how we got about using this code. This is us calling upon the scanner, and this is us just printing out what we want the system to do when the system starts running. Here, by line 29 is where things get a little bit different. Here, line 30, sorry. This calls the registration method and stores the returned messages. This is the code attribution for this code. The code here under the attribution. And then when we move over to this part, once we carry on from line 42, where it says, where we have this if statement, that if statement, it uses equals to compare strings correctly. This is us printing out what we want the system to say again. This is us calling upon a boolean, carrying on to another if statement here. Oh, sorry, I did not explain what this boolean does. This boolean checks if the username and the passwords entered are correct, making sure that if not, the system will let you know, etc., etc. And then when we move to string login message over here, going down, this converts true and false into readable messages. This is us just calling out again on what we want our system to print out. This is another code attribution. Now when we get here to int max messages, this converts user input from text into an integer. So from text into an integer. And then we have another code attribution for this little piece of code that's over here. And then when we move on to boolean running equals to true, this is where all the control happens. This line controls whether the menu keeps running or it doesn't. Moving on. While running, this is a repetitive loop. It's a loop. This repeats the menu until the user quits. And then we get to our switch choice. This runs different code depending on the option selected. So it depends on if you selected an option which applies to case 1, case 2, or case 3. You choose case 1, this is what's going to happen. The system is going to print out message limit reached, and then it's going to ask you to enter your recipient number. Oh, sorry. My God. When we get here to this if statement prevents sending more messages than allowed. So you have a maximum amount of messages you can send, and you can't send more than that, right? And it prevents you from sending those more messages that you or any other person would like to send. And then we go, this is just us illustrating on what we want the system to print out to us. And then when we get to message, this creates a new message object with a recipient and text. And then this is just us asking what we want to be printed out, which is the result. And then when you get here to message check message length, this ensures that the message does not exceed over 250 characters. When we get to this if statement, this line stops the process if the message is invalid. So the process of the code will be stopped if the message that you have typed out is invalid. And then we move on to this one over here. This decides what happens to the message based on the user's choice. And then when we move on to this if statement over here, this if statement checks if the user selected send message. Then when we get to this one right under here, this increments by 1 to the sent message counter. So we have a counter that counts how many messages you've sent, and the more you send, it just adds 1 to that previous value of the messages sent prior to you sending the one that you have sent currently. And that was confusing. Okay. Now I will illustrate how my code runs. This is my first method class, which falls under the login for part 1. And this is part 2 methods class. This makes sure that everything is incremented properly. Here is where we introduced the JSON storage. This is us just declaring our strings. This is the unit test for part 2 of the assignment, which ensures that everything runs properly. So here we check if what we have entered is correct. So we check for the number of characters, like the phone number of characters, international code, the username, and the password, and etc. Now I'll be illustrating how the code works. Just enter my name, my surname, and then when we move on to username, this is the critical part. I will illustrate how, firstly, it's supposed to look and how it's not supposed to look. So this is the correct way. So your username is required to have an underscore. You need to have an underscore in your username, and then your password needs to have a capital letter. So I'll use M because that's and then I'll just write till 8. And you also need a special character. I'll just put a $sign. When I enter the phone number, I still have to start with the +27 because that is the correct international code. And then you can proceed with finishing off the number. This is our registration. Now this is our login. So you use the exact same username to log in, and you use the exact same password. The $sign. And then it will welcome you to quick chat. And then it will ask you how many messages would you like to send. I'll say 4. And you have to choose an option between these two: send messages, show recently sent messages. I will press send messages, enter recipient's number. Let's enter a random, sorry, let me use the go, enter a message. Hello, how are you? Question mark. And then you press send message once the message is ready to send. And then you're gonna get all your message details. Here's your message ID, your message hash, your message itself, the recipient's number, and then you can, if you press 2, it'll show you your recently. If you press 2, it'll tell you coming soon. But if I press 3, it says goodbye and it quits. Okay, let's rerun it again, but this time entering the wrong type of information. So I'll keep the first name the same. But when I enter my username, I will not add an underscore. When I enter my password, I will not have a capital letter. I will just have numbers, and I will also not have a special character. When I enter my phone number, I will just enter from 0 . And then you will get this: username is not correctly formatted. Please ensure that your username contains an underscore and is no more than 5 characters in length. So you need to have an underscore in your username, right? So let's fix the username, but still keep, we will fix the username, but still keep the password wrong. I just fixed the username and added the underscore. When I enter my password, I will not enter a capital letter or any sort of special character whatsoever. When I enter a phone number, I will enter it correctly. Plus 27067. Now you get a message that says, password is not correctly formatted. Please ensure that the password contains at least 8 characters, a capital letter, a number, and a special character. Okay, cool. Let's make sure that our password is right this time around. 1, 2, 3. Now when we enter, just entered, and that's the correct format for the password. When I enter a number, I will just start without entering any international code, and let's see what we get back. And then we get cell phone number incorrectly formatted or does not contain an international code. Thank you.